Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer. Issue 17. So here we go then. We've got now Druids, Displacer beasts and more magic items in issue 17. Plus some dice and sheets. So let's take a look. And so to start, we're back to dice sets in the issues. This has got some blue dice with some sort of inside by the look of it. Weapons in there. Battle axes, is that? D60s. Yeah, it's little battle axe ones. They're quite cool. They're nice. Although with Druids, not very thematic really. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, let's check it out. So entering the issue, we can see we're going to have all about nature and spellcasting with the Druids and a secret language, as well as now a character sheet for the Druid and a few other things such as magic items and Displacer beast. Firstly though, we're going to look at the DM advice for weaving scenes together. Sometimes it makes sense to split a party to complete different tasks. Don't split the party. But if you do split up, this section's giving us some stuff to help by looks of it and about why you might split the party. Although probably the most obvious reason this is if you have characters leaving and joining like we discussed last issue. And it just goes on with handling separate scenes. So their advice is to keep everyone at the table and just switch between the two every time something dramatic happens, rather than splitting up the groups, which might not work too well in certain situations. Just remind them about the metagaming. They shouldn't know what's happening in the other group. And then getting them all to move back together. And although they've got all the info up there, sadly this guy wasn't lucky enough to get the Dungeon Master screen, so he's got that crappy wooden thing instead. Once we get back together, it's time to do some magic item buying, which is something that's mainly going to happen during downtime between adventures according to this. But apart from potions of healing, which are quite common, trying to find merchants who sell magic items can be difficult. It says here though, if the players have something they want to look for, the DM should decide how likely it is to find it. More likely in somewhere like Neverwinter than a small place like Phandalin. So the actual rules about it is you need at least 5 days of effort and 100 gold of expenses to actually do the searching for the magic item you want. And then you've also got to do persuasion checks to determine the quality you're going to find. You can also spend more 100 GP every week after for a +1 bonus on the check, whilst also living the wealthy lifestyle, splashing it out to impress the merchants. So they've got 2 little tables here, depending if you've got the Dungeon Master's Guide, or if you don't. And obviously the higher your check, the better items you're going to be able to find. The simplified one down here does say choose some magic items you've previously found in the magazines. Although at the minute, I think that limits it to potions of healing, +1 swords of bright blade magic, or whatever it's called, bag of small fairy creatures, wish stone or something that summons orcs. I'm sure I'll go and have a look if I need to. Also it goes common magic, common, uncommon magic, and then just rare items. I'm assuming that's rare magic items, but just as rare items. But then rare might also have non-magical items included. Once you decide what items you found, here's how you work out the price for how rare they are, and any complications, such as it could be fake, could be cursed, might be stolen because you've attracted someone wanted attention. But once you're done with all the buying, time to move on to the selling. And it's mentioned a few times already, but selling might happen around the market, as in Encounter 17 is at the market. Basically every page so far has said, oh, market day, this might be effect. So I know pretty much what's going to happen by the end of the magazine now. Much similar ways to how you'd buy items. You selling items, you've got to spend a week putting the word out, but a bit less money, only 25 gold to let them know you want to sell. Then you have persuasion checks to determine the value offer you're going to get, which little table here, how much they'll do. Although you can't improve this persuasion check by spending more days and more money. So you can't spend money to make money, as the old saying goes. Although as the magic item base price here actually has a list of all the magic items. Potion of climbing, I don't remember seeing one of those. But potion of healing, the bag of tricks, which is the animals, bright blade, lesser orc stone, pearl of power, that's the one I was thinking of. And then yeah, mithril chainmail, Perrin's bow, pixie dust, saddle of the cavalier, +1 shield. So pretty much all the magic items we've encountered so far. And the rarity goes right up to legendary for +3 armor, which is worth 200,000 gold pieces. Very legendary. And usual complications, same as before. You might get stolen, you might get attacked, people might try to drive down the price. The little top tip here is it's a good idea to tell players how much the basic stuff's worth, like gems and paintings. And for magic items, you can give them hints or just make them guess and have them do the rest to work out what it does. Similar to when we discussed magic items back in the actual magic items page, like attunement and things. Now done with that though, so now let's talk about some Druids. And obviously this is just going to be the one page, not game info, just background info about Druids, so sort of guides you're going to find, although over the page might have a bit more info. For Druids, everything's about their nature, so they look to keep all of nature in balance, all of the elements. So they generally always oppose cults of elemental evil and anyone who promotes one element over the others. They hate unnatural stuff such as aberrations, the beholders, mind flayers and undead. We've had plenty of undead. And they can guard sacred sites, be watching over regions of unspoiled nature. Typically dwell in forests or secluded locations. They could be shamans who heal the sick. They could invoke the spirits of nature to protect others. Natural enemy to civilization. Many things, many causes. When creating a druid, just decide why you've got such a bond with nature as well. Were you raised by a druid? Have you had a dramatic encounter? Anything of the sort. Once you've made your druid, you then get to have your features. So the first level features we'll find out. The main one being you speak Druidic, so all Druids know this and it's a secret language and can use it to leave hidden messages for other Druids and all Druids will recognise it. Non-Druid characters might be able to spot it with a perception check, but they wouldn't be able to understand it without magic. Druids are spellcasters using wisdom as their stat for casting spells. So just like all the other spell casting classes, you get a spell attack modifier or a spell save DC based on your wisdom and your proficiency. Druids can also cast rituals if it's got a ritual tag and they have the spell prepared. And every day the druid can cast cantrips and also can prepare from all of the first level spells available and cast up to a certain number, which is wisdom modifier and druid level. Then at level 2, druids get to choose a circle, such as the other classes who get like a divinity or an area of magic. The circle druids belong are going to define what sort of extra features they get by the sounds of it. So our pre-generated druid is the circle of the land, and then I'll talk about additional druid circles later on, like all the other stuff. Circle of the land druids have their magic influenced by the land where they're initiated into the circle. And we see our second level features. We've got natural recovery, so the druid can recover some spell slots during a short rest. And the circle of the land druid gets a bonus cantrip, so we've got infestation on our pre-generated character. As normal as well, hit point increase for going to the second level. And the top tip is they're going to explore more second level features, which includes wild shape. So I didn't notice it, but this is actually part 1 for the second level. So the druid's got a lot of stuff going on at the second level because it's actually got parts 2 and 3. Well, it might have a lot more than the others, but obviously every page is only one double-sided page, so wild shape might need a lot more explaining to do, or might have a lot of animal stats to fit into it. Maybe one of the animals could be like something creepy looking, like this panther over here. This panther with extra legs and tentacles and doesn't even exist over there because it's over here. Well, it's actually Displacer beasts. So I'm going to look at these guys here, and I guess we're going to probably find one this issue because I've got a standee for it already. These are all like panther looking things, 5-6 legs, 2 tentacles, and they create illusions of themselves so you can't really tell where they are. Quite intelligent, they can be kept as pets, but only if they see a benefit for it, and sometimes they'll even be hunting in packs, which can make them more dangerous. The origins of the Displacer beast seems to be from the Feywild, and the Unseelie actually bred them to become the creatures they are. They've got a lot of tactics, they're quite deadly. You can't dispel magic to find out the illusion, but you can use true seeing to find it. You might want to try and reason with the creature because you might be able to try and get it to keep you alive, but also you might want to actually kill them because their skin's quite useful for making illusionary cloaks or just wearing to replicate illusionary power. Now we're done with Law C monsters, we move on to Law C factions. A little arrow over there. The Emerald Enclave, so now we move to the second of the 5 major factions after covering the Zentrum ages ago. And bringing up the factions last issue in the character creation. Which, funny enough, on the issue of Druids, we go into the Emerald Enclave, who was the faction who are all to do with nature, so he's the one that all the Druids seem to flock to anyway. The Emerald Enclave has been around over 1,000 years, and a lot of like-minded individuals formed it, although these days they're scattered far and wide and usually operate alone. The fact that they're survivalists, born survivors and survivalists, probably means a lot of them are going to be outlander backgrounds as well. The people who serve it, expert in navigating the wilderness and reading weather patterns. They innately feel the wellness of the natural world within them. It's possible for characters to join the Enclave. It says that most of the time the Enclave is going to seek them out, whispered messages on the wind or maybe a message from an animal. And members of the Enclave normally wear green and they've got a symbol of a stag's head. Far to the east of Neverwinter we've got the High Forest. That's full of lots of creatures, and deep within the wood is Shadowtop Cathedral. which is a sacred meeting place for the Enclave. Heavily defended, so if you enter there and you're not the Enclave, you might never be seen again. So let's stay away from the High Forest and just go to Market Day. This Market Day is the counter for the issue. It's for DMs only, so if you're planning to run it, just use the links below to follow and skip ahead. Otherwise, let's continue. And we're going to go to Neverwinter Market for a Market Day. It's a bit open-ended to start with, and then later on we're going to find our Displacer Beast and have a little encounter. Setting up our Market Day, there's going to be 3 main locations in the market for the adventurers to go to. We've got armor and weapons, potions and magic items. And this is all kind of setting us up for using Neverwinter as a base now for the future rather than Phandalin. So we'll be able to restock on equipment and magic items and make stuff. So in the armor and weapons, they actually say if you bring them special stuff, they can make things for the right price. So a Displacer Beast hide could be made into Cloak of Displacement, for example. We have a lovely elf here giving us potions to help healing, and she's also going to go to the Underdark to get some ingredients. And an elderly gnome in the arcane place gives us a lot of magical items, mostly involving explosions and scrolls, especially if they involve explosions. And now we've talked about buying and selling out magic items, we've also now kind of doubled the number of items we've got just in the magazine. Excellent stuff. Either way, once you end up doing all this, you're going to get to the Beast Escapes, which is the main bit of this adventure and how it's going to finish. So this Albino Displacer Beast, so clearly not this one here because he's not albino, but it's released from its cage and some guy shouting at you to help calm it down because he's a monster tamer and will pay you if you do so. Otherwise he's going to be fighting a load of guards. Once the Displacer Beast is incapacitated non-lethally, if the party manager do it, they're offered some bonus gold pieces if they can source who started all the commotion. And upon investigation, eventually the party can find a druid of the Emerald Enclave who was trying to release it, or they didn't realise what had happened in the market that day. Now they get a choice. They can try and force the druid to turn themselves in. They can try to get the druid to agree to willingly turn in, or they can fight, or they can just ignore it, or even try and help the druid. If the party do go for fighting the druid, she's going to attempt to entangle them to escape. Can't escape. You've got all the stats to fight. Annoyingly, you've got all these spells listed, but some of them aren't actually in the spell booklet yet. So the second level spells haven't even got a second level. I've got a second level spell book, but not at this point, if this is as far as I've got with the magazines anyway. So obviously Bart Skin's mentioned up there. Animal Messenger isn't mentioned, but I don't think it's useful for combat. And this Sheila Egg isn't mentioned anywhere either, although it is mentioned in the action. The Quarterstaff, if the spell's used, there's a bonus, but I don't know how long it lasts, anything like that. Druid Craft, we know. Produce Flame, can't find it anywhere, although we have got Control Flames in the cantrip section. I have to find out if they're separate spells or if it's just got it wrong. I'll check that later. We also have the stats now for our Displacer Beast, who we're going to have to fight, and the guards, which is basically the same as previous guard stats. Then moving on to the last page, here we get now all our magic items for earlier. We have all the descriptions for them. The Circlet of Blasting, which ends up being a Scorching Ray spell. The Potion of Healing, we already knew about one of those before. Elixir of Health, which is good for getting rid of your conditions. Fire Giant Strength, if you want to be strong. Protection, Ring for bonus protection. Sending Stones for using the sending spell. And Wonder Magic Missile for pow 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 pow. Then done with all the magic items, we get to Zugan Shani, the Hermit Wood Elf Druid, who's now available to join the party. We only get one character sheet in the issue. It does say a second level character sheet to create a first level druid there, so they won't give you a first level druid. I think last time we got a new character, we managed to get the first level sheet, but we'd only just advanced the level. For the looks of it, for the rest of it, you won't get your pre-generated character lower levels. You can just go create your own if you need to. So we see Zugan's going to have some of the features and traits related to Wood Elf, as we did see before with Irina. A bit annoying to give us a second Wood Elf while we couldn't have a different species, like a Genesee or whatever that we encountered last issue. And some Druid things, so like the Wild Shape, which we haven't actually discovered yet, so I'm assuming that will come in very soon. So here's our character, and here's the spellbook we have access to, or not even spellbook, here's all the spells we have access to. So interesting to note, something I wasn't clear on before, but druids are quite similar to wizards in how they prepare their stuff. So they actually have to prepare, they know all the spells, they have to prepare a certain amount of spells, and then they can cast from spell slots. Which it didn't actually mention here that they had spell slots, it just mentioned about preparing them all. Which is something, a slight little oversight I think, but at least the character sheet has it right. And there's so many spells now they've run out of space for all the descriptions down here. But luckily that's what the spell book's for. Ta-da! otherwise that's it completely. So we've got our magazine, we've got our Druid. Then next up, issue 18 with Hermits. So we're going to talk about our background. It doesn't mention Druids, but I imagine we're covering all the rest of Druid stuff here. More dice there, although these ones look slightly nicer than others. Not the colour I want, but another tin. Anyway, if you're still here, as normal, there'll be some links popping up, so we can follow about the magazine over here when there's more videos. We can follow the series here. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope to catch you soon.